Hi, these flashcards facilitate solving standalone and passage-based MCAT questions about buoyancy. This specifically covers the physical foundations of biological systems in the topic area of 4B fluids. The buoyant force is the upward force by the fluid that opposes the downward force of blank. So what downward force would a fluid be opposing? So the answer is gravity, but for more clarity, let's take a brief thought journey together. So let's say I have this object, like a block of wood, all right? And let's say that I decide that I want to drop this wood in some water or some type of fluid. Okay, well, we know that, the wood block isn't going to drop and sink all the way to the bottom of this water body right away. It's going to kind of hover, which is like floating. So what's happening is the buoyant force is acting upon it. The buoyant force is the opposing force of the water pushing up on the block. So although it seems kind of counterintuitive to draw the buoyant force in the opposite direction, this is the buoyant force, okay? And it's pushing up on the water. Let's say the weight or the force of the block, because we know weight is mass times the force of gravity, is wrong color. Let's say it's going to be 5 newtons. Okay, so that's about 5 kilograms times the acceleration due to gravity, which is 9.8 meters per second squared. And let's say that the F buoyant is 10 newtons. So the upward force of the water pushing up on the block is more than the actual weight of the block itself. So the answer again is gravity. In the case of a floating object, the downward force of gravity, vector F sub g, and the buoyant force, vector F sub b, are equal and O blank. So what is their relationship to each other? So the answer is opposite. And let's say, for more clarity, that again, I have a block and I drop it in a container of water. Okay, so the force of gravity is going to be pulling this block down. Let's say that the block has, this time, a weight of 10 newtons. I'm sorry, not a mass. Okay, and so here we have our container of water that we're dropping the block into. And let's say again that the buoyant force due to the water acting on the block is 10 newtons. This block won't be in motion. It's going to be stagnant. It's going to hover. That is, it's going to float, okay? So it's not just going to sink. And that's because the buoyant force is equal to the magnitude of the weight of the block. But notice that they have opposing directions, because remember, force is a vector, okay? So it has magnitude and direction. Well, this down here, you can, use a W to specify it's the weight. And weight is a type of force, okay? So they're equivalent, but the thing that you have to note is that they're opposite. And if we take the downward direction to be negative, we could say that the weight is exerting negative 10 newtons of force, where the water is exerting a positive 10 newtons of force.